Donald Trump made the mistake of calling on Andrew Feinberg for the first question of the press conference. He heard the best questions asked by a White House reporter this year.
Mr. President, earlier today, you told me that you believe that foreign countries pay tariffs, but Americans who are concerned about higher prices believe, as most people do, that they're paid by consumers and importers when they import things into this country. Can you explain how you came to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs? And for the Prime Minister, did you discuss with President Trump his repeated statements of desire to annex Canada? And has the King expressed any concern over the President's apparent desire to remove one of his realms from his control?
Wow. It doesn't get better than that. Both of those questions were perfect. And yes, sadly, Canada is part of the realm of the King of England, who unfortunately still appears on Canadian currency. So once again, Donald Trump was, can you explain how you came to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs? That is a perfectly phrased question. And Donald Trump had to be the first of the two to answer that two-part question.
So I'll go ahead. The first part, the tariffs are necessary because we've been treated very unfairly by many, many countries, including our friends, friend and foe.
Donald Trump went on to speak 150 words without ever answering the question, how do you come to this belief that foreign governments are paying tariffs? And in those 150 words, he didn't say that foreign governments are paying. He didn't bother to insist that foreign governments are paying tariffs when he got caught like that. He just talked in circles until he felt he filled out enough time, ending with this.
But I will tell you, it's going to make our country rich, and it's going to stop us from being a laughingstock all over the world. Because we have been taken advantage of like no country has ever been taken advantage of. Thank you very much.
Donald Trump is a laughingstock all over the world for claiming that tariffs he imposes are paid by foreign countries instead of American consumers. If Donald Trump puts a tariff of 50% on a Samsung TV coming into this country, then you will pay 50% more for that TV. Tariffs are sales taxes. That's all they are. And the buyer pays the sales tax. And the man who is a laughingstock all over the world is the only head of state in history anywhere in the world who believes he has the power to tax other countries. Because Andrew Feinberg's question about Canada to the British Prime Minister was, did you discuss with President Trump his repeated statements of his desire to annex Canada? The British Prime Minister had an easy out for that question.
You mentioned Canada. I think you're trying to find a divide between us that doesn't exist. We're the closest of nations, and we had very good discussions today, but we didn't discuss Canada.
Yeah, so the laughingstock didn't discuss Canada with the British Prime Minister. The laughingstock president who wants to make Canada the 51st state did not discuss with the British Prime Minister whether the King of England and the British government would be willing to agree to losing Canada from the group of British Commonwealth countries. We have every right to believe that Donald Trump was hearing for the very first time from Andrew Feinberg that there is any relationship at all between Canada and the guy who's going to appear on the next edition of their $20 bill, the King of England. The next great question asked at the press conference today was asked by a British reporter who unfortunately was just there for the day and won't be around to ask any more questions of Donald Trump.
Mr. President, tomorrow you're seeing President Zelensky to sign this deal on minerals and energy that could be hugely important to the United States. Will you take the opportunity to apologize to him for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator?
Needless to say, Donald Trump simply did not answer Robert Peston's question. He just said, I think we're going to have a very good meeting tomorrow. That's what happens when a cowardly person is confronted with the truth. Donald Trump all but melted in reaction to the dictator question. Are you going to apologize for calling him a dictator while praising Vladimir Putin, who is a dictator? Donald Trump delivered the functional equivalent of speechlessness, because Donald Trump proves in moments like that that he does not have the courage of his convictions, because he has no convictions except the 34 convictions he earned in a Manhattan courtroom last year. Donald Trump doesn't believe anything. Donald Trump doesn't even believe Donald Trump. When Donald Trump calls President Zelensky a dictator, he knows he's lying, and he does not believe it. And so when he's called on it, as perfectly as a British reporter did today, Donald Trump's got nothing. The bluster is gone. We can only hope that the notes the other members of the White House press corps took today in that press conference included performance notes on how Andrew Feinberg does it and how the British reporter Robert Peston does it. That's the way they should all do their jobs in the White House press.